and welcome to Wellness Wednesday Live. I'm Bethany Zell, Program Director for Healthy You at Cary Medical Center. And we are here today to talk about how to eat healthy on a budget. And our whole theme for this month is nutrition. And that's because it's National Nutrition Month, the entire month of March. So today, I'm always asked, as someone who specializes in health and wellness, I'm always told, oh, it's so expensive to eat healthy. And I always like to say, you can spend a little extra time and money and energy now on being healthy and on your nutrition and your health and wellness, or you're going to be forced to spend some extra time and money and more focus of your life on your illnesses later. And so anything we can do now when we're younger and able to make changes that could last us through our lifetime, we absolutely should. And so when we look at eating healthy, it is an investment. It's an investment in ourselves. It's an investment in our future. And so today I'm going to share with you a dozen or so, maybe give or take a couple, tips for saving a little money while you're finding ways to eat healthier. And again, it doesn't have to be rocket science, and you don't have to spend a fortune to eat healthy, but you always want to focus on the quality of your ingredients and buying the most optimal ingredients that you can and in the budget range that you currently live with. So I'm going to run through these, and I'm always happy to entertain extra questions afterward, or you can follow up by attending one of our other Healthy You sessions. And this month we've got them all about nutrition. So number one on my list is to plan your meals in advance. And this piggybacks on a second one, which is when you go shopping, stick to your list. So when it comes to saving money at the grocery store, you really do need to plan. Planning is key. So you should always use one day a week to plan your meals, preferably for the upcoming week. And then you want to make that grocery list based on what you need. And you can always, while you're making your plans, make sure to look in your fridge and in your cabinets to see what you already have so that you can begin to build meals around those things. And if you were on our pantry makeover session at the beginning of the month, I gave you all kinds of great tips for things that you keep in your pantry and have on hand that can save you time and money and energy in the long run. And if you have those, you can build your meals around that. And there are usually a lot of foods hidden in the back of your pantries or in the back of your fridge that we forget about that you can use to save yourself money in the grocery store on that particular week. But you want to plan to purchase only what you know you're going to use. You don't want to end up throwing away things. And especially if you're going to be spending your money, you want to get your more bang for your buck and use what you use. And so when you go to the grocery store, you need to make sure that you stick to your list. And it's very easy to get derailed. Believe me, I know. Cooking at home is another great way to save money. It's a lot less expensive than eating out. Generally, you can feed an entire family of 4 for the same price of buying food for 1 or 2 people at a restaurant. And some people find that it's best to cook for the entire week on the weekend or prep their lunches in advance. Some people like to cook one meal at a time. But whatever works for you, the more you can eat at home, the more control you'll have over your pocketbook and your portions. And you'll also gain the benefit of knowing exactly what's in your food. So you're going to have more control over the nutrients that you're consuming, and you can make sure that you're getting all the nutrition that your body needs. And so you can do this by our next tip, cooking larger portions and using the leftovers. So cooking a larger meal can save you time and money. You can use those leftovers again for lunches. You can use them to build onto other recipes. You can freeze them for single portion serving sizes later. Whatever works for you. And if bulk cooking saves you time by doing it on the weekend and having some meals ready for you for the week, that's fantastic. You're going to save yourself time and energy, and cooking in a large quantity is certainly a lot more affordable than having to cook separate meals that require a different set of ingredients for each one. And so you can use leftovers as building blocks for different soups or stews or stir fries. You can build salads off of leftover vegetables, burritos, any kinds of foods that you can kind of throw things together that you might have in your fridge that can be used as leftover. These types of foods are great for people who might be on a budget. Our other key when you're shopping, sticking to your list, The key to that is you don't go shopping when you're hungry. If you go to the grocery store hungry, you are way more likely to stray from your list and buy all those different things on impulse, the things that you walk by and you're like, oh, I forgot to put that. You didn't forget to put that, my friend. If you're following your meal plan and you know what ingredients you have at home, then you know what you should be picking up at the store. So don't let the power of hungry suggestion get you to crave foods that aren't good for you and that are not on your list or in your budget for the week. You want to focus on buying less processed food and more whole food ingredients, because whole foods are often less expensive than their processed counterpoints. And you can also buy them in larger quantities and save yourself time. So for example, a block of cheese is cheaper than when you buy the shredded up cheese in a bag. Canned beans are cheaper than refried beans. Anything that requires extra processing usually takes that extra effort into account with the cost of the item, and that gets reflected back to you as the consumer. So anytime anyone has to do anything to separate the packaging or extra steps involved in the processing of your product, you're going to see that reflected in the price. And with the pricing, you can opt to buy generic products. Most stores offer generic brands for many products, and these are often the same quality, if not the exact same brand, and I'll share a little more on that in a minute, than their more expensive national brands. All food manufacturers have to follow standards to provide safe food, and so they all have to meet those requirements. It doesn't matter if it's a brand name or a generic version, and oftentimes generic versions are really the same as the brand name one in a different packaging. A lot of times they'll process more than what the brand name ingredient supplier produces, and so with that leftover that they've created or produced, they slap the generic labels on the very same product and sell it as a generic version at a lesser price. So really, you're paying extra for the packaging. The food, a lot of the time, in the generic can is the exact same quality, sometimes the exact same food that you would find in those labeled brands. But you want to make sure to read the ingredients list just to make sure that you're not getting the lower quality product that you're used than what you're used to. You want to definitely get what you think you're getting. But a lot of times, if you try the generic, they are usually just as good for you and just as delicious as the brand name counterpoints. Another way to save money in the grocery store is to replace meat with other proteins. And so you could have like a meat-free night, one or two nights a week. Eating less meat can be a great way to save money because big cuts of meat can cost big bucks in your wallet. So try replacing that meat once or twice a week. You can use beans or some other type of legume. We're going to actually have lentil sloppy joes tomorrow night, and we're using dried lentils instead of beef. So we'll save a few dollars there. You can use eggs, have an egg casserole kind of night. We love to do that at our house, or breakfast for dinner, sometimes we'll call it, or canned fish. And there are such great recipes that you can do. And these are all inexpensive, nutritious, and easy to prepare foods that pack in a lot of protein. They have a long shelf life, and therefore they're less likely to spoil quickly. So they last for a long time. Another way to save money is to buy frozen fruits or vegetables. Fresh fruits, berries, and veggies are usually in season only a couple months each year. And so they're sometimes really expensive, especially when you get them off season. So quick frozen produce is usually just as nutritious, and again, sometimes more so because it's frozen. It's like flash frozen right there, right after it's cut, and all those nutrients are then frozen in and stored. And those are cheaper, they're available all year, and they're usually sold in large bags. Frozen produce is a great option when you're cooking. You can make smoothies or use it as toppings on oatmeal or yogurt, and you can gain the advantage of being able to take out only what you want to use. So we usually keep like one of those big bulk size frozen berry bags that reseals so people can go in and take a scoop, put it in their oatmeal, and there's still plenty more for the rest of the family. And that keeps it from spoiling. By keeping it in the freezer, we only use what we need, and it reduces the amount of produce waste, which in turn saves us money. We're not wasting food. Always buy in bulk when you can. Many foods are available in bulk for a lower price. grains, especially like brown rice or millet or barley, oats. Many of these are sold in bulk, and they keep for a long time if you store them in an airtight container. And this is also true for the dried beans and the lentils that I talked about. Some kinds of nuts and even dried fruits can be staple foods that are relatively inexpensive, and they can be very versatile and used in a variety of healthy meals. So stocking up, if you have the room, if you know you're going to use it, you don't want to stock up on something you never eat. So always look for ways to stock up when you can. If you can, a great way to save money, and I know a lot of people in Northern Maine are looking forward to this season right now, is growing our own produce. If you can grow your own, seeds are so cheap. They are like a fraction of the price of what you would get at the grocery store. And with just a tiny, very inexpensive packet of seeds, you can grow so much produce. And with some time and effort, you can grow your own herbs, sprouts, tomatoes, onions, all the different types of crops. And you can have that continuous supply right in your own backyard or in your home if you have an indoor little garden space. And that saves you money at the store. And again, I've been surprised sometimes at the yield of the seeds that we've planted in some of the gardens that we've had through the years. Bean seeds that we think are just, you maybe spread, it feels like a dozen or so, and you have beans for almost the entire season just from that one little crop. So homegrown produce can also taste a lot better because it's freshly picked. It's literally from your backyard and on your table, and as opposed to the store-bought ones, which, if you shop a farmer's market, you might get a little closer to home, fresher produce, but you can guarantee that if it's coming from your backyard, it is picked at the peak of its ripeness. You know when it's happening. So always do that. Another way to save money in the nutrition land is to pack your lunch. And this is, it's a hard one for me to follow sometimes too. And maybe I think I've gotten better about it in COVID times because there seems to be fewer options for lunching. But eating out is very expensive, and especially if you do it regularly. So finding ways to pack your own lunches, whether it's making them in advance on the weekend, the way that I talked about earlier, when you're meal prepping, whether it's packing your lunch or your snacks or your drinks. I know coffee drinks can be a huge budget sucking item. Some of those coffee drinks, special ones, can cost upward of $5. And then, if you talk about some of the other larger national chains, it's even more expensive. So looking at ways to get those meals in a less expensive and a healthier way than eating out. And if you've adapted to cooking those larger meals, as I shared in one of the previous tips, you'll always have a steady lunch to bring with you without really any additional effort or cost. It's just going to be left over and you can use it again. It does require a little bit of planning, but in the long run, it's going to save you a lot of money, especially at the end of the month. Use coupons wisely. And everyone always thinks like coupons, that's how you save your money. And for some people, yes, coupons are a great way to save some money, but you need to be sure to use them wisely. You want to sort out the good quality deals from the junk. You want to use them to stock up on cleaning products, healthy foods, and other staples that you definitely use. Let me repeat that. Only get the coupons and use the coupons for the items that you use, because nobody needs to buy 3 things of a cereal that you won't eat to get one for free. So stocking up and getting 4 boxes of cereal that you may or may not eat is not going to be a value for you or saving you money or waste because you're just buying it to use the coupon. It makes no sense. So cutting the cost of products that you need around the house, you can spend more of your budget on healthy foods. But again, make sure it's things that you'll use. You need to grow an appreciation for some lesser expensive foods. And I know we all get bees in our bonnets, and I call myself a coffee snob, and I am very proud of that fact. But the coffee that I drink is very expensive by coffee standards. And so sometimes we have to talk ourselves down from those ledges. And so I've got a couple, maybe 2 or 3 items that I'm like, this is the hard line, and these are the brands, and I have to have this, and these are the brands. But it's not for lack of trying. You should always try to appreciate lesser expensive brands. Find foods that don't cost as much. If you're not used to eating dried beans, try them. Try and find a way to appreciate them. If you don't incorporate eggs into a meal regularly, try and find a way that you can prepare them that your family will enjoy. But cheaper cuts of meats, whole grains, frozen fruits and vegetables are all great meal builders that are a lot less expensive. They're relatively inexpensive, especially if you buy them in bulk. And they can be very nutritious and versatile, but you have to give them a chance. So always be willing to try new things. And so those are some great tips for eating healthy on a budget. Another one that I would suggest is when you're at the grocery store, be sure to look at your units. Look at your unit price, find out how much is in the package and how many servings. You want to be careful that you're not spending $4 or $5 on an item that's really only 1 or 2 servings. And especially if you have a family of 5 or 6, so be sure of what you're purchasing. Make sure it's going to feed your entire family and that you don't have to buy multiple packages, which would make it even more of a budget buster. So always look for the unit price, try and find the most affordable version of whatever it is that you use to consume and purchase. And, these are just some starting points for saving some money in the grocery store and helping you get your life on track in your nutrition. So we hope you'll tune back in for our next Wellness Wednesday, which will be in April. And our focus for the month of April is public health. And we're actually going to have some guests on our 2 Wellness Wednesdays in the month of April. So we hope you'll check back here on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday at 1 p.m. And if you haven't already registered, we still have a virtual grocery store tour happening through Healthy You next Tuesday. So you can register, just find the event page here on our Healthy You Facebook page, and you can register. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Be well.